With it being graduation season, I was recently reminded through watching a few commencement addresses about this concept of imposter syndrome.
The way our culture talks about imposter syndrome, you also could mistake it for a medical condition, but it's not. Leslie Jamison wrote about the origins of the phrase in The New Yorker a few months ago, and she talked about how the two researchers who at first talked about imposter syndrome didn't call it an imposter syndrome at all. In fact, they referred to it as imposter phenomenon. And it was based on high-achieving white ladies. It was never meant to be pathologized. Still, like Bicycle Face before it, imposter syndrome was rooted in misogyny. It's no coincidence that the concept first emerged as Title IX became law and women started going to college. Or that it gained traction just as Roe v. Wade was decided. And now that women had control over their bodies, they were starting to enter the workforce in droves.
Now, imposter syndrome for those of us in the entrepreneurial space is nothing new. I actually speak on imposter syndrome all the time as it relates to creating video content for social media. Mostly short form video, not so much long form video like this on YouTube. I'm still working on my expertise in this area. But I was recently reminded that again, imposter syndrome actually is not a syndrome at all.
You don't say.
What is imposter syndrome? According to the National Institute of Health, it is a phenomenon, so it's actually not a syndrome at all. That's how we've labeled it, as something that is an illness, right? It is a phenomenon that is explained as self-doubt of intellect, skills, or accomplishments among high-achieving individuals. Again, this is not me defining it, this is the National Institute of Health. And what I want to be very clear here, and I just love the separation of syndrome versus phenomenon. Again, I'm not a doctor, I don't want to be a doctor, but I just thought it was really interesting how we in society labeled it as an illness, labeled it as a syndrome, when really it's just a behavioral phenomenon. I just want to kind of unpack that a bit. But you're probably sitting there thinking, Carlin, I feel imposter syndrome all the time, especially when it comes to creating social media content, feeling like I am a carbon copy of my competitor because I am not sure how to show up as authentically me. And to that, I hear you, I've been you, it's gonna be cool, we're gonna be fine, we're gonna get through this together.
I got your back.
There are 4 C's that I wanna break down for you today that can help us overcome this imposter syndrome that we felt, this doubt that we feel. And isn't it interesting that a lot of us who either self-identify or not as high-achieving individuals are the ones that feel this most, that we don't feel successful when we've, crushed it in the world of our business. So here are the 4 C's. Number 1, consistency is key. I know I say it all the time, but truly, the more you can be consistent about the cadence that you're putting out there on your social media, more consistent with how you show up, showing up as yourself, getting people to build this know, like, trust that you hear a lot of us marketers speak about all the time. Show up consistently. Show up for your audience and make it more about your audience than it is about you. If you do that, you will win. The second thing I want you to remember when you're overcoming imposter syndrome is create first, consume second. If you get into the habit of doom scrolling on your phone, and yes, for some of us, we utilize that as some market research. But when you start to have that level of self-awareness that like, okay, this is impacting how I'm feeling, etc., you know that it's time to put the phone down and get to creating. So I tell all of my clients this. If you are struggling with that imposter syndrome, comparison syndrome, full permission to go and create something, post it, and then you get to consume what everyone else is doing. Especially if you get a little bit too in your head, if that self-doubt starts to creep in. This is a great rule of thumb that I made a non-negotiable for myself for months when I was starting to feel a little bogged down by comparison and imposter syndrome. If you want to know more about comparison syndrome, make sure to check out the recent video that I posted as well. It's going to be super important for you to lean into a little bit if you're feeling that comparison quite often. We talk a lot about it. We unpack how to get over it over in my other video, so go check that out. The third C is condition your feeds. Not that you need a permission slip from me, but full permission, signing it, sliding it across the table for you, to unfollow, hide, mute the people that make you feel some type of way. And the way that you do this is simply going to your settings and hiding people. You can go tap unfollow, all the good things. And it's not forever. I've muted people in my industry who made me feel like I wasn't enough. I've muted people in other kind of silo, industries adjacent, if if you will, that were making me feel like I wasn't doing enough. And I have felt it, and I'm sure you have felt it too. But the best thing that I can tell you to do is condition your feeds. Unfollow those people. View content that makes you feel happy, makes you laugh. Because right now, the algorithms work in a way that they know exactly what you want to see. So if you're looking at content that feels a little doom and gloom, chances are you're going to continue to get served that content that's doom and gloom. So seek out the positive for you, consume that content at scale in order to condition your feed appropriately. And again, full permission to hide, to mute, to unfollow those people who make you feel like you're not enough. And the fourth and final C to overcoming imposter syndrome is continue to focus. Sometimes day to day, we get wrapped up in the hustle and bustle of owning a business and creating marketing content and answering emails and having sales calls and discovery calls and managing a team. It's a lot. Full disclosure, it's a lot of things that we have to do as business owners. But what I don't want you to do, because it happened to me in 2021 and 2022, is I lost complete and utter focus as to why I started this business in the first place. If you want to know more about my why, you can go check out my video about my words of the year for 2024, because I have polished and really honed in on what is my purpose in my business. And plot twist, that has nothing to do with about making $1 million, okay? Because again, sometimes we lose focus. So it's not enough just to define your why, but you have to go and revisit it often. This will keep your content on track. This will keep you not just inspired to create content, but also motivated. Because what I found over time is you need that glimmer of inspiration in order to feel motivated to show up on camera, to show up in your social feeds, to show up in the DMs. You need to keep that fire lit, that ignition on of your inspiration. So I'll leave you with this final thought. If you're feeling some kind of way, or you catch yourself saying like, oh, social media, I don't want to do it, or social media, nothing's working, or social media, I don't know what to post, or social media, it just feels like I'm feeding the hamster wheel, like just keeping going in round and round in circles with no end in sight. This is a complete sign that you need to get back in alignment. And that's okay. Like, let's get back in alignment. So that means making sure that you are staying consistent, because this start, stop will constantly leave you frustrated because the algorithms like you to be consistent. And for me, that's 3 days a week. For you, it might be 5 days a week. Permission to not do every day of the week, okay? Do what you can do and do it consistently. Create first, consume second, and then finally condition those feeds and really refocus and stay focused on your why. So let me know, have you experienced imposter syndrome before? What has been holding you back? I know this is a pretty vulnerable topic, but I welcome your comments below. And until next time, I'll see you through the screen very soon. Bye. And of course, my neighbor is deciding right now to mow his lawn. It is 8:45 on a Tuesday. So if you can hear the lawnmower, it is what it is. I'm just gonna crank it out, okay? And now there is a freaking fire truck. I'm never gonna get this freaking video done. Okay, who knew that my neighborhood at 8:45 in the morning was so damn active? Okay, hold on. Okay, let me try that again.